The Crystal Beach, Amusement Park, Vermilion, Ohio. Park of 1,000 trees. The story goes, on or about the year 1874, pioneer farmer George Shattuck decided to transform his 23-acre farm on the shores of beautiful Lake Erie from cow pasture into a picturesque public picnic grove and bathing beach. Energized by widespread approval of this basic recreation facility, he soon added a beer garden, gaming devices, and a dance hall. "32 years later, an area businessman, George H. Blanchett, purchased the property with the intention of stepping things up a notch. Or 2 or 3. It is said that during an early inspection of the property, Blanchett's wife, Josephine, took up a handful of sand from the beach, taking notice of its crystal-like qualities as it ran through her fingers, and on May 30th, 1907, the Crystal Beach Amusement Park opened. The years passed and business flourished. A merry-go-round, shooting gallery, ice cream parlor, boat rental and landing, bowling alley, a bigger refreshment facility, a prodigious water toboggan slide from the cliff into the lake, and additional amusements and rides were added to the park. On Friday, May 29, 1925, Mr. Blanchett arranged to have 2 of the finest orchestras in the country play host at the grand opening of one of the most beautiful dance halls to ever grace the banks of the Great Lakes. It was formerly known as Crystal Gardens. Bedecked in tones of blushing pink and apple green, the new hall was capable of comfortably accommodating 2,000. That's right, folks, 2,000 dancers on its hardwood floor. A broad promenade that afforded enough room for nearly the same number of people embraced the dance area. Also included were a new refreshment stand, check room, and spacious lavatories. Throughout the following decades, it was not unusual for folks in the area to dance to the music of Sammy Kaye, Count Basie, Les Brown, Coon Sanders, Louis Prima, Lawrence Welk, Duke Ellington, Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey, Guy Lombardo, and many others at the Crystal Gardens in Vermilion, Ohio.
Your heart is pain, and tears will fall as you recall the moon and all its splendor, the kiss, the very under the world when you surrender.
Sometime in 1928, Mr. Blanchett added a new ride to the park. This was a roller coaster constructed of 200,000 feet of Georgia pine, some beams measuring 60 feet in length, as well as some 20 tons of iron track. For the better part of the next 30 years, this coaster would be the main thrill ride for the many thousands of people who visited the park every season. On the night of April 20th, 1947, tragedy struck. Fire claimed the two-story pavilion housing the roller skating rink, penny arcade, refreshment stand, and several other rides located at the back, or northern part of the park. But by July 4th of the same year, a new single-story building housing the arcade and refreshment stand was built to replace the one lost in the fire. Roller skating activities were moved to the Crystal Gardens facility. James M. Ryan, Blanchett's son-in-law, had assumed management of the park after Mr. Blanchett passed away in 1938. And when Mrs. Blanchett died in 1952, park ownership passed to her daughters, Thelma and Eleanor. 10 years later, they sold the park land to the Crystal Development Corporation, headed by Vermilionite James M. Fisher. Most everything in the Crystal Park was then sold at auction. Over 700 people withstood the cold and rain to witness auctioneer Jim Wagner sell the midway rides and concessions. Paul J. Kopsch, then Lorain County coroner, purchased the shooting gallery complete with targets and pump guns. But Francis Dean, a former mayor of Vermilion on the Lake, captured the big prize, Crystal's big coaster, the Thriller. Built at a cost of perhaps $50,000 in 1928, the estimated cost of building the ride in 1962 would have been around $250,000. Mr. Dean paid a whopping $400 for the ride, a 4-room cottage, and 12 of the coaster's cars. Dean later dismantled the coaster and sold the wood for building purposes, and the iron for scrap. The electric motor for the ride fetched $900. His son, Dr. Norman Dean, later wrote me to say, "It was a fluke that Dad got the roller coaster for $400. The lawyers who came to buy it didn't bring cash, a stipulation of the auction. And that was the end of the Crystal Beach. For a time, plans were in the works to remodel the ballroom that had been the site of perhaps 1,000,000 love stories and make it into a summer theater for the community. But in 1967, when I returned from duties in a far-off galaxy called Vietnam, it too was gone. Now only a few hundred snapshots and a plethora of memories remain. But I'm sure glad they do. Yes, sir. I'm glad they do.